I embarked on a business road trip, navigating a lengthy highway en route to my next hotel. The destination was an unfamiliar town, home to a nondescript and budget-friendly hotel conveniently situated just off the highway. For hours, I traversed the desolate road, encountering only sporadic cars. However, my solitude was disrupted when a set of headlights appeared behind me, persisting for the next 3 hours as we covered the vast expanse of the empty highway. Upon reaching the hotel exit, I pulled into the parking lot, and to my surprise, the trailing car followed suit, parking on the opposite side. It struck me as an improbable coincidence for them to have trailed me for the entire journey and share the same destination. Despite the oddity, I chose not to dwell on it, attributing it to peculiar luck. Externally, the hotel lacked allure, a time-worn, diminutive structure, the sole building in proximity to the highway, devoid of other establishments. Contrary to my initial assumption of its location in a town, I proceeded to check in at the front desk, where the attendant provided a key card for my room. Given the antiquated appearance of the hotel, I was surprised by the presence of keycard access rather than traditional locks. Upon reaching my room on the first floor, I encountered a minor struggle with the dated keycard system, eventually gaining entry. Though small and old-fashioned, the room appeared clean and well-maintained, satisfying my primary concern. As I unpacked, a knock echoed at my door. Peering through the peephole, I observed an unfamiliar man in the hallway, who didn't seem affiliated with the hotel. Opting for caution, I refrained from answering the door, deeming it the safer choice amidst the emptiness of the hotel, adjacent to the deserted highway. The man did not persist with further knocks, reinforcing my belief that his visit might not have held much importance. Completing my nighttime routine, I settled in to watch a free movie on the television before drifting into slumber around midnight or 1 a.m. Upon awakening, the room was shrouded in darkness, and a profound weariness enveloped me. In the semi-conscious state, a repetitive beeping sound resonated in the back of my mind. Abruptly, my eyes shot open, fully comprehending the source of the sound. Swiftly, I leaped out of bed, illuminating the room with a lamp. The beeping ceased, replaced by the sound of hurried footsteps echoing down the hallway. Rushing to the door, I swung it open, narrowly missing the fleeing figure. Moments later, the front desk attendant appeared, looking uneasy. Inquiring about the commotion, I learned that a man had sprinted into the parking lot and driven away in the same car that had trailed me on the highway. Upon further discussion, the attendant revealed that the man had entered the hotel a few minutes earlier, proceeding down the hall. She assumed he had a room, but minutes later, witnessed him sprinting out. Describing my experience of waking up to the sound of a key card attempting to unlock my door, I expressed profound concern that he might have possessed the correct key card. Despite involving the police, no significant assistance was rendered, and the man was never apprehended. My personal investigation uncovered unsettling discussions about fake universal keycards that could access certain hotel doors. The uncertainty surrounding that night has instilled a deep reluctance in me to stay at hotels for the foreseeable future.
I'm employed at a locally owned hotel in my town. Despite its modest and less opulent appearance compared to larger hotel chains, we manage to attract a decent amount of business. While it's not exceptionally busy, there aren't many other lodging options in our town, giving people only a couple of choices. During the summer and winter, we experience a high influx of bookings. But in the spring and fall, things slow down to just a few nightly reservations, and sometimes none at all. This particular situation occurred last spring when our hotel had only a handful of guests. I was working my usual shift from 6 to 2 a.m. and around 11 p.m. a man entered through the front entrance carrying a large, rolling suitcase. He appeared normal, and although he was polite and soft-spoken, he seemed quite fatigued, as if he had just completed a long plane journey. He requested a one-night stay with a room on the first floor, preferably at the end. Since it wasn't busy, I granted his request. As he walked down the hallway, another man entered. This second man, devoid of luggage, also looked weary but was less friendly. He almost demanded a room, insisting it be next to the man who had just arrived, claiming they were friends on a trip together. Although this request was somewhat unusual, and typically groups would come in together, I felt compelled to accommodate him since I had already granted the other man's request. After some time, the desk phone rang, displaying a room number rather than an external caller. I answered, but after only a second, they hung up, leaving behind only a shuffling sound. I thought it might have been an accidental call or a change of mind. However, when I checked the room number, it was the one I had assigned to the kind man who arrived an hour earlier. A short while later, a thud echoed down the hallway, prompting me to investigate. I found no one, but the noise was significant enough to suggest something loud had fallen or broken. Redialing the room number, it rang briefly before being rejected. With no further signs of trouble, I decided to leave it be. After 30 minutes of silence, I heard footsteps down the hallway. The less friendly man approached the counter, stating he needed to leave early. I confirmed his checkout, and he departed. That night, I went home with a strange feeling in my gut, unsure of its origin. Days later, I discovered that the other man who stayed in the room had never checked out. When the room was searched, his suitcase and belongings were found, but he was nowhere to be found. Efforts to locate the other man who claimed to be with him were unsuccessful, as there were no matches to the provided name, address, or phone number. The mystery remains, and both men are still missing to this day. This incident occurred just a month ago when I was in the process of relocating to a new apartment across a few states. During my journey, I decided to stop at a motel for an overnight stay. I hadn't meticulously planned my route or chosen a specific motel. I simply opted for the closest one when I started feeling drowsy. Upon arrival, the motel matched my expectations, situated in the midst of the woods off the roadside, somewhat run down, and not a place I'd prefer for an extended stay. The parking area was vacant, not a single car in sight, making me wonder how the front desk worker had arrived. Despite the somewhat grim appearance, I secured a room, walked down to my door, and entered. The room was run down and not particularly clean, but it was better than having nowhere to stay. Planning to take a shower, I noticed the filthy tub, so I decided to skip it and went straight to bed. As I lay down, attempting to get comfortable, I heard an unusual noise from outside the room, door handle shacking, originating from a few rooms down. This bizarre activity continued, with someone systematically trying each door handle, as if checking for open or unlocked doors. The strangeness of the situation puzzled me. It seemed like someone might be trying to get a free room. As I closed my eyes, hoping for some rest, I was disturbed again by aggressive banging on my door, resembling punches. Annoyed, I got up, realizing that the door lacked a peephole. I cautiously opened it a crack, finding a man with a grim expression, seemingly frustrated. Questioning him about his aggressive knocking, I learned that he believed this was his room and insisted I accompany him to the service counter to sort out the confusion. The situation was already odd, considering there were no other cars at the motel and a minimal likelihood of us being assigned the same room within minutes. Despite the man's aggressive demand for me to leave the room, I decided not to comply. Attempting to close the door, the man forcefully blocked it, and another man appeared with a tool, attempting to unlatch the lock. Pressing against the door, I struggled to keep it closed against the overpowering force of both men. In the chaos, the door's movement knocked the tool from the second man's hand. Seizing the opportunity, I slammed the door shut. After a few more hits, the intruders retreated, and I immediately called 911. Remarkably, the police found no car associated with the intruders. Instead, they discovered shoe prints leading into the woods behind the motel, vanishing into the trees and dirt. The true intentions of these individuals remain unclear, but their deliberate choice to target my room, despite knowing others were vacant, raises concerns about their motives. I hope it was merely an attempted robbery, but deep down I can't shake the feeling that it could have been something more sinister.